Hey folks, I think I am live. I'm trying to get it to go the other way around, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. Yeah, if I do this, yeah, I can't even see what's going on then. It makes my screen all go dark. So sorry about that. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. I'm gonna try and clip this phone into, if I do these more, I'm gonna definitely like try and get a proper setup so that I can, just be a little bit more professional really. Let me clip this in here and then we can, oh my gosh. Oh, good. Audio and video is working. Thank you. That's very reassuring. And yeah, I think all of my lives start off with like some sideways, upwards situation because I just can't seem to get it to work. I think it seems to work better on my phone though than doing it on my laptop, so hopefully this is okay. It's fine, we can all see each other. Well, I can't see you, but hopefully you can see me and I can see you guys chatting, so that's good. Yes, so oh, thank you, Kate. I've got my tea. I made mugwort tea, which I've been drinking over the last few days over the full moon, which has been really nice. And yeah, this is going to be a forecast for the energies of October. We're going to talk about the astrology, and I've also pulled out a couple of decks as well. I've got the Tarot of Mystical Moments and I've got my Witch Oracle deck as well. So what I thought we would do is talk about the astrology first and like the kind of general energies of October, because there's quite a lot of like, I felt like September was quite turbulent in some respects, and October has also got some like quite big stuff happening, so I thought it'd be quite good to talk about it. I can just see people talking about their tea choices, which is good. English breakfast is always good, but yeah, I've been feeling the mugwort the last few days with the moon and everything as well. When this fire moon, sometimes I want to have like a watery kind of counterpoint to that really, and I find that the mugwort is really good for that. It's also really good for like enhancing dreams and stuff as well, so you can get all the kind of good juicy intuitive hits and stuff like that as well. So I've talked a little bit about the astrology of this month already with this month technically, because it's gonna be October, and like I'm not sure how it'll all work if I do these ongoing, like how it'll fit in with the other stuff, because obviously I do the forecasts for the moons. I do like a kind of moon cast on the new moon for the kindred circle, and then I also do for the moonwise goddesses, we talk about the full moon and the energy of the full moon, so we've got those kind of lunations. But I think sometimes it's good to have like an overview of the month as well, and I've been thinking about that with my journal too, so I'm considering doing like a kind of getting back into like a monthly setup as well, and then like trying to fit in the lunations within the month as well. But yeah, it's a whole thing. I can see people coming into the chat. It's really nice to see you all, and yeah, I love seeing your moons as well. It's really cool. Yeah, the moons are for the people who have signed up to my membership, so I can see lots of the moonwise goddesses here and some moonwise kindreds here as well. It's really cool. Yeah, so mugwort tea, and it's literally just, if you've got it, like you can actually still, the mugwort here is still, you can still pickable, like it's kind of past its best a little bit now, but you could still pick it. But you can just buy like dried mugwort and use that then all through the winter if you haven't dried any, so that's really cool. This is bought that I've got here. I bought some from Indigo Herbs in Glastonbury. I like their mugwort tea. Well, I like most of their herbs. They got good tea. Okay, so I think there's quite a few people here already. There's 30 people here, so I think we will start. We'll make a start talking about October. I did listen a few days ago now to the astrology podcast October forecast, which is, I think, like, they're always so long. I think it was like 2.5 hours long. Which, this is not going to be that long. I'm thinking we'll probably talk about the astrology for about, like, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes or so, something like that. And then I think pull some cards. I'm not going to do individual readings today, I'm sorry, just because it gets so intense doing that, and like there's a little bit too many of us now really to be able to do that. So I think I'm going to do like a general reading for October for all of us. But I was thinking that I may even do like pick a card type things. I don't know. I've been thinking about lots of stuff. I've been getting lots of like do more from Goddess, and so yeah, it feels like there's changes and things happening, and things are going to be coming in that haven't been available before. So yeah, I don't know what, like I kind of steer away from the pick a card stuff a little bit, because like some of them are just feel a bit kind of scammy, which may not be fair of me because I don't watch them. So it's probably not fair to say, but I don't know, sometimes I just feel a bit like, oh, you know, like, is my crush going to come back to me and stuff like that? And like, that is not what I'm about, obviously. So, you know, it's like a personal growth path that we're talking about here, and like where we are with things. So that's more of our emphasis. Anyway, let's talk October. I've got my honeycomb. I've got all sorts of things here. I wasn't sure what I was going to need. What I would ideally like to do, if we do kind of forecast type things like this ongoing, is I find a way that I can share my screen with you guys as well, so I can talk and also share the screen, so I can show the charts of the days, so you can see what I'm talking about, because I know lots of you are also studying astrology, or you're already proficient in astrology, and you could, you know, seeing the chart would be more helpful as well. But I can't make that work. I couldn't even make it work sideways. So I'm going to need to look into that and figure out how to do that. But for now, I've got my honeycomb, and I've got I love this overview. If you've got the honeycomb, you can, you know, this is also something that is in the Astrocal, do this as well, the kind of month at a glance kind of vibe. And you know, you can find out on here, it's basically got the wheel of what is going on. I love that. I love this. The kind of visual representation of this is so good, because you can see, right, the sun starting in Virgo, you know, and see exactly where it's going in the whole, starting in Libra actually, and going into Scorpio here in October. It's all backwards for me now, so it's like trying to see it like that. But you can also see like planets, you know, where they're kind of moving around to, and so you can see straight away, okay, so like Mars is opposite here, you know, and you start to see the kind of pattern, the overall kind of zoomed out pattern of it all. And then there's a list of the transits here, which it basically just means like all of the main aspects of the planets are forming to each other throughout the month. So that's really helpful. And like you can see straight away when you look down here as well, it's like certain dates will be highlighted. Like there'll be some dates where lots of things are happening, and then other dates where, you know, not very much is happening at all. And so you can already see, okay, these days are a little bit more like more stuff than other days. So that's interesting in itself. And then you have the ingresses down here. The ingresses just mean when a planet is moving into a new sign. It's got outer planet natal transits, but that's obviously just personal to me. If you're using just a regular ephemeris or an astrology diary, I don't think they do like a month at a glance in any of the others apart from the Astrocal. But if you do know of different ones like that, then, you know, share that with each other in the chat as well, because it's useful. And I think it's good to know like why. Sometimes when I watch some astrologers, I think most people do talk about like why they're saying stuff. It's like, why is the astrology of October looking like it's intense? What is it about where the planets are that are kind of reflecting back on Earth? You know, like there's going to be these kind of quite big themes going on in October. It's like, I want to know why the people are making those predictions, why they're talking about those things. And not everyone does that, so I think it's good to do that. Although I know sometimes people do, like, I don't want to know the ins and outs of it. I just want to know what's coming up and what to kind of do about it. So that's a fair enough approach as well, of course, you know, we're all in different places with things like that. But for me, I want to know, it's like, why are you saying that? You know, is it because Mars is going in Scorpio? You know, things like that. So I'm going to try and do that as best I can. And if anything that I say is like, you're not sure, like, well, why is she saying that? Then ask, because I can see the chat. Like it does go quite fast, but it should be fine. I'll keep an eye on what's going on. And we've got the 2 lunations here. So we are in eclipse season in October, which is another reason why it gets intense. Eclipses are kind of like supercharged new and full moons, basically, because when we have the new and full moons, the sun and the moon, well, for a new moon, the sun and the moon are in the same place. So like they're both in the same sign. And then at the full moon, they're in opposite signs of the zodiac. So that's the only thing with it being narrow, is now more my hand actions are not in the screen. Go back a bit. So yeah, so like, and when we have an eclipse, we've got as a solar eclipse, you've got the sun and the moon in the same sign, because the solar eclipses always happen at the new moon. And what is basically happening is that the moon is in the perfect place to be able to block out the light of the sun, because even though the sun is much further away than the moon, because the sun is much bigger, like the sun's much bigger than the moon, isn't it? But because the moon is so much closer, they look almost exactly the same size to us in the sky, which is really interesting. You know, like from an Earth perspective, I find that really fascinating, you know. It's like we know, like in physics, that actually the sun is many, many, many magnitudes larger than the moon, but actually to us here, they are almost like the right and left eye of the heavens, you know, they're the lights, which I think is really, really interesting. So at an eclipse, they just line up in the perfect way so that the sun is able to be blocked by the moon because the moon is in the perfect position. This eclipse that is coming up on the 14th of October, which is in like 2 weeks from now, is an annular eclipse. And all that means, like when you think of annal, like or anything with that an abbreviation, like anal, you know, it's like they call it a ring of fire sometimes because the moon and the sun, because of the distance away from the earth, the moon is in a slightly different distance away from the earth, and instead of it being like a perfect eclipse, there is still this like ring around the outside. So that's why it's an annual eclipse and not a total eclipse. The annular eclipses are more common than the total eclipse because things really have to be perfectly lined up. But eclipse points are shifting points, they're like portals, and so they are when we get the eclipse season that we're in now, it is something that is change is happening, whether we like it or not, usually. Oh, hi Siren. And then on the 28th, so at the end of the month, we've got the lunar eclipse, which is in Taurus, and it's the last eclipse. Like we've been having, the eclipses happen on something called the nodes. So I'm not going to go super in depth about it, but basically, you know this. If you watch the sun rise and the sunset, it rises in the east, it sets in the west. But it's not as simple as that. Like if you watch actually throughout the course of a year where the sun rises and sunsets, it goes like slightly, it moves. So it's actually only on the equinoxes when it rises at due east and sets at due west, kind of thing. And the moon is the same. Like it doesn't rise in exactly the same spot and set in exactly the same spot, because of all sorts of different factors, like the earth is tilted and we're moving around and all this kind of thing. So the nodes are the place where it's like it's hard to describe it in a way that's not like without a diagram or something, but it's basically where the place where the sun and the moon are like crossing the ecliptic, which is the path that they pass on through the sky. Hi Jamie. And it is and because it's on that place of passing, it's like emphasizing that place. And also like the nodes have been really important for a really long time as places of. The north node is a place of like where energy like enters in to the universe, where it's like seen as like the mouth of the universe or the head of the dragon, and that's where we bring energy in. And then the south node is seen as like the tail of the dragon or the anus of the universe, where we release things out. And what a lot of the stuff that is happening, the nodes aren't actually on here, but the nodes at the moment are in Libra and in Aries. They're always like in opposite signs, obviously. So because they're like the opposite sides of the zodiac from each other. So a lot of the action in this month is happening on that south node. The south node is in Aries. So when we get a solar eclipse on the south node, that's quite different from getting a solar eclipse on the north node. When we get an eclipse on the north node, the sun and the moon create that portal and the eclipse energy floods in. You know, we're able to welcome new things in. Oh, hey Tuva, I hope that you are feeling better. I've been thinking about you. And when we get an eclipse on the south node, like we've got coming up now, it's a really good time to let things go. And like, it's good to know that. It's good for us to be like aware of that, because otherwise sometimes we let go of things. Like the energy is of letting go. And so we will shed things, we will let go of things. And it's like Scorpio season anyway. So we've got that whole idea of like shedding and, you know, if we are in the northern hemisphere, we're in that part of the year where like the trees are shedding, where everything seems to be like closing down, pulling its energy back in for winter. So we're in that vibe of that. And like if we go along with that, this is why I love to practice astrology, because and work with the moon and everything, because when we move with the energies, it is so much more graceful and elegant and like easy. It makes things easier when we do that than if we try and like fight against it. So if we want to try on that, say like on that new moon, on that solar eclipse, on the 14th of October, we're like, right, I'm going to manifest something now, I'm going to bring something in. it's unlikely to be successful. And like this is why when you look at like all the old grimoires of magic and stuff like that as well, is that like there was specific times when things were good to do, and then there were other times when you shouldn't be doing those things, and it's because you're just much less likely to get a good result at those times. So you know, you can try. Like I'm not saying you can't. Maybe if you you manage to get your kind of personal stuff really lined up well and you've got something really potent to do, then you could try it. But like I always think, just like, why, I'd rather just go with it. And what I try to do to kind of like mitigate when there's some difficult things happening, like with Mars in this beginning of this month now. Oh, Christiana, I'm so happy about that. I'm glad that makes sense. It's so, they're kind of a tricky concept to describe, the nodes sometimes, and so there's so much depth to them. I'm only kind of scratching the surface here. But yeah, I think, I've lost my train of thought now, but thinking about that idea of, oh yeah, that's what I was saying about like mitigating circumstances. So if we know that we've got this outpouring of energy at that first annular solar eclipse on the 14th of October, if we choose to share it, then if we say, look, this is what I'm giving up, this is what I'm letting go of, then we won't be forced to let go of something else, if you see what I mean. So, like, it doesn't always work perfectly. Sometimes, there's always like losses and things that we don't see coming. Not definitely, I'm not guaranteeing that you're going to be doing that, but it's not perfect. But we can kind of make a sacrifice, I suppose, or even see it as like an offering. And so you are like respecting the energetics of the time by doing that. And that means that you can not have to give up necessarily something that you don't want to give up, if that makes sense. So Liz says she's planning on doing a release ceremony on the 14th, as the moon will be in his 6th house of health. Oh yeah, after surgery I feel like a new person. That's amazing. And yeah, like surgery, especially when it goes really well, is wonderful, but it is trauma to the body as well still. So like there will be things that need to be released around that, even when it has gone really well. Yeah. What's Charles saying? Charles saying, living on a property that is true north-south on the compass, you can really see the movement of the sunrise. Yeah, it is amazing. And like, it's such a good thing to track, because it's one of those things that just makes us, like, humans for thousands and thousands of years will have been noticing this. And it's only in the last, like, since the Industrial Revolution really, that we haven't been noticing those things. And so we, just by noticing those things, by like, oh, the sun's coming up here this morning and the sun's setting here tonight, we put ourselves back in the flow. We put ourselves back in relationship with all that is, and that is how we're supposed to live our lives. That's how humans are supposed to be here. Shall I say, a lot of people have felt that something is coming. Yeah. Oh, hi Terry. It feels like there's definitely big change coming, and it's been brewing for a long time, and I feel like ultimately it's not decided yet exactly like what is going to transpire. And I also don't think it's super sudden. Like, I know I've been talking about like apocalypse in the broader sense of the meaning of that, in that like the current world order is ending and a new world order is kind of being born. I've been talking about that for years, and yes, there's definitely been some more signs lately that this is what is coming about. But it's not going to be like we go to bed one night and it's one world and we wake up in a different world. It's going to be more, when civilizations shift and change, they're like massive ships. They don't just turn on a sixpence. It takes a long time to be able to steer that differently. And so, like, I don't think that it's going to be a super sudden change. I think what we're seeing now is like an accumulation of like change and change and change and change, and it does seem to be speeding up. But I don't think it's, I mean, you can be scared, and you can just be like, because like change can be frightening, because we don't know what to expect, and so that can leave you feeling like out of control. But like a lot of the stuff that we think we're in control of, we're not anyway. And so actually being able to be like, okay, I'm here, I'm a person in this world, and I can't solve all the world's problems, but I can notice where the sun rises every morning, and I can choose to let something go on a south node eclipse. You know, we are tuning ourselves back in, and I think that is what our role is now, as like the bigger tides around us kind of figure out the kind of direction of where things are going. What's Tuva saying? The moon ebbs and flows just like us, so we are so connected. I love working around the moon phases. Yeah, it makes such a difference to go with the flow. It also teaches us things that are like kind of frustrating sometimes, like patience. It's like, oh, the moon, the perfect moon for the thing I want to do doesn't happen for another 4 months, you know. And like you can definitely, like when I was a teenager, I definitely work around that and try and find a different way of doing it, or phrasing it different, or like pitching what I was doing a little bit differently. But I've kind of learned as I've got older to just embrace the flow much more, and it feels good. It feels good to be in that rhythm, in that flow. Yeah. So shall we go through? I've already talked for like 15 minutes, and I haven't really talked about the sort of specifics of what is going on yet. So let's just, I'm going to kind of just go through the mundane transits, I think, and the ingresses. Let's talk about that. So we're already into October. We're on the 1st of October now as we are chatting here today. And this first kind of week feels very sort of similar, I think, to what has already been happening in September. I don't see like today being like a sudden change. The only things like coming up now tomorrow and the next day on the 2nd and 3rd, we've got Mercury making some interesting aspects. So Mercury is opposing Neptune at the moment. And if we think of Mercury as being like that kind of communicative energy, that organizational, that kind of like getting the message across really clearly and well, and like Mercury is in direct motion now, is in forward motion, so that energy is like clear and flowing. But then if we think about Neptune, is this kind of like watery, subconscious, kind of like deep entity. So when we have Mercury opposing Neptune, and Neptune's really strong, they're both in their own signs, which I think is really interesting. So Mercury is in Virgo and Neptune is in Pisces, which are their own signs. So they're both at home, so they're both really strong. I wonder, like, I feel like the signature of the next couple of days will probably be like communication is going to be like a little bit Yodified or like the witches of Macbeth, you know. It's like when we get the we're going to get communication, but it's more likely to be kind of poetic, or maybe through dreams. Like I think there's going to be some really good chances for intuitive hits as well through this time, because when we have like communication and subconscious, then perhaps we will get insights through the subconscious, and we'll be like, oh yeah, you know. So there is that energy that is going on. What's Emily saying? Interesting, tomorrow got a new manager. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it'd be good to kind of see what I think the thing to kind of be aware of is that perhaps our we might not be as clear, and Neptunes tend to like fuzzy things, to kind of like, when you think of like water poured over something, or looking at something through water, it's not quite as clear, is it? It's like you can't quite make things out. So it's like, maybe don't make judgments necessarily in these next couple of days, because even though we might receive some really good communication, some intuitive hits and information, it may not be exactly as it seems, you know. There might be more or something different that we don't quite get in that first pass, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I think that's interesting in this first week. But apart from that, like, Mercury is still in Virgo, Venus is still in Leo. It feels like Venus has been in Leo for like my whole life at the moment. It's actually only the summer, but it's been such a long time. You know, so long for Venus to have been in Leo and then retrograding all through Leo, then back through Leo. It's been a lot. And still there in the beginning of October. So we're kind of carrying on the themes of September. But then when we start getting the ingresses, so on the 5th of October, Mercury moves from Virgo into Libra. So that's a shift, that's a change. And I think that is the kind of first change where we'll start seeing like, oh, okay, there's a different kind of theme happening here. So I feel like we're still kind of singing off September's song sheet at the moment. And then when we get to that Mercury ingress into Libra, we are going to be like, oh, it's a new tune. You know, there's something different that's happening, because like Mercury's been in Virgo also a very long time, because it went into Virgo, then retrograded in Virgo, and then went direct again in Virgo. So, you know, we've had a lot of Mercury in Virgo, we've had a lot of Venus in Leo. And so, yeah, I think that Mercury's gonna be the first one kind of coming out of this. Yeah, like a nightmarish dreams are a Mercury and Neptune kind of deal, you know. But you know, make a note of them, because they could be bringing forth something that is useful as well, you know, something that like hidden fears. Sometimes like when you shine a light on them, you can actually it's illuminating, literally illuminating. We can kind of bring things up from, we can drag things up from the depth now as well with that. And I think like the eclipses always kind of do that as well. So yeah, you know, we've got the opportunity to work on some big stuff personally this month if we want to. That is one of the reasons why it's intense. You know, we've got options. We can either like sort of just keep our heads down and try and like kind of go through this month without changing, without like shedding anything, and that's going to make it hard. Like it's as if like we've got that death card, like the in tarot the death card is linked with Scorpio, and like we will be moving into Scorpio, the sun will be moving into Scorpio, quite a few of the other planets also moving into Scorpio during this month. So we've got that scorpionic letting go energy, and we've also got that south node being emphasized as well, the letting go energy. And if you're a tarot reader, if you're interested in tarot, you know that when you get the death card, like it very rarely means like a physical death. It sometimes can, but often it means a release, a letting go. And like we've talked about that with that energy, if you can go with that, then you can let go, you can release. If you don't, then you get a tower situation, you know, where you're forced to let go of something, you're forced to release that. So that's kind of like the options, you know. And like that might not sound like fun options, and I'm sure there are other kind of nuanced options, of course, as well, you know, of things, but it feels like that to me. It feels like it's going to be like I can choose to cooperate with this natural shedding energy that is happening, or I can resist, and then I'll be forced to accept change when it comes. Yeah. So yeah, the 5th of October I think is going to be a kind of first hint of the turning point. I never find Mercury ingresses like that, like boom, usually, you know, especially Mercury is moving from its own sign where it's really strong into Libra. So it's not particularly strong in Libra, you know, so I don't think it's going to be like bang, this is a whole new age, you know, but it's not like it's the start of it, but it's just kind of a trickle, you know. And then as the other planets start moving as well, as Venus on the 9th then is moving into Virgo, so she's finally leaving Libra and moving into Virgo, finally leaving Leo and moving into Virgo. And like Venus not super happy in Virgo, but I find actually the Venus in Virgo is not a terrible place for Venus. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. Terry says, is this being recorded? Yes, yeah. It's being recorded. It will be available afterwards to watch, hopefully, as long as YouTube does all its stuff that it's supposed to do. Yeah, we don't need it. Yeah, and I feel like that as well. I don't want any tower energy. So I'm going to work with the death energy instead. I'm going to work with that rebirth, transformation energy instead. Yeah. So yeah, 5th and then the 9th, when Venus moves into Virgo, things are going to change. You know, it'll be like, oh, okay, this is the kind of pattern of the month. I feel like by the time we get to the 9th of October, that is going to feel like it's going to feel different. We've also got on the 9th of October, we've got Mars in Libra. Like Mars has been hanging around in Libra now for a little bit. I know Liz, who's here, has got that as like a natal transit as well. Mars not happy in Libra and can be passive aggressive, I find, actually. Mars in Libra, it's like Mars is about direct, and like sometimes that means conflict, It doesn't want to like beat around the bush at all. And like Libra is like the epitome of beating around the bush. It's the sign of tact and diplomacy. And so Mars in Libra is like, ugh, you know, this is a nightmare. And it can either pan out as like as sometimes self-destructive behavior, because like Mars, instead of like being able to act as Mars should, kind of directs the anger in towards the self, or like I say, passive aggressive behavior. And like, not to say like everyone who's got that placement is going to have is going to be a passive aggressive person or anything like that, but it's that tendency. And so trying to mitigate that Mars, trying to allow that Mars to be able to do its work directly to shed is really, really important. And like Mars wants to be pushing things out, releasing things, getting rid of things. And then we've got Mars literally conjunct that South Node on, where's that transit gone? On the 4th of October. So opposite the North Node, conjunct the South Node on the 4th of October. So yeah, I think like from 4th, 5th to the 9th of October, we'll be feeling that energy. Mars is already there. So we've already got that letting go of that kind of letting go energy vibe happening. Do something to release that, because Mars needs something. It needs some heat. Like it could even just be like a workout. It could be like going for a run or something, or it could be like, what would be another like kind of Mars? What would be a Mars thing? You guys ever think about it? It's like Mars is hot. It wants to like exert itself. It wants to be a hero. It wants action. And Libra's like, oh no, no, no. We need to think it all through. We need to balance everything. Mars like, I don't want to balance everything. I want a resolution. And so how, think of some creative ways of how that can play out without it like playing out on us, kind of thing. Kate saying work is up in the air right now, so I'm hopeful this week will give you answers. Not early, I wouldn't have thought in the week, because of that Mercury Neptune kind of like fuzziness. You might get some insights and answers. You might think, this is how I want things to go forward. Like I know, like this is aligned for me, or this is not aligned for me. But the energy is not decisive now. Mars is hampered. It's hampered in Libra anyway, and on the South Node. It's like unlikely that a kind of static situation is going to change before the eclipse, really, anytime before the 14th of October. But so let's go on to that the kind of second to third week of October. We've got the solar eclipse in Libra as well. So that's happening. The eclipses happen on the nose, like I explained at the beginning. So that's activating that energy as well. But I think like after the eclipse, sometimes then things kind of get revealed, often that have been, that weren't able to be seen before. And on the 12th, so before the solar eclipse, Mars is actually moving out of Libra and moving into Scorpio. And I'm seeing that like kind of 12th, and then we've got the eclipse on the 14th. That is going to be like a turning point of the month in a big way, because Mars is at home in Scorpio. Mars is strong in Scorpio. It's like not on the South Node anymore. It's like, oh, finally, I can express myself as Mars. I can make forward action again. I can be my kind of direct and positive expression of Mars. So yeah, I think unlikely for things to be resolved before the 12th to the 14th, around that time. But once we do get there, I think things are going to feel quite different by that point, and we will start to feel like, if you feel like you've been treading water for a long time, like we've had so many planets retrograde for a long time, and it can feel like I'm kind of like in this soup and I'm kind of going over the same issues again and again, and like we're not kind of making any forward action, some change. And I think that is going to be the turning point of like change when Mars moves into Scorpio. And I'm really looking forward to it. I love Mars at home in Scorpio. Is such deep but like direct and exciting. It's exciting energy. It's like a thunderstorm, it's like boom, this is this is happening. And the change that we've been like incubating, percolating all through the summer, all through those retrogrades, can now start to be realized in the world, you know. Like we might have our ideas, our plans of how we want things to be, but we've been stuck, and then things are going to change and we are going to be able to move forward on that. So yeah, I'm seeing that around that kind of second to third week of the month. I shall say Mars trying to create fireworks. Mars, and yeah, exactly. It's like, let's just get this shit done, you know. What else have we got going on here? So okay, so on the 18th of October, this is an interesting thing that's happening here. On the 18th of October, so 4 days after the eclipse, we've got the Sun in Libra conjunct the South Node. So when the Sun passes over the South Node, like we talked about what the nodes, the Sun in the chart is like the kind of the heart of it, our life force, our battery, our vital force. And the South Node is like the release point of the energy. So what happens when our vital force goes over that release point is that sometimes that can be like quite a very like a low energy kind of day. It can be like we can take it as an opportunity again, especially because around the eclipses is not usually a good idea to be working any specific magic, because like eclipse energy can be a bit temperamental, and the results are not always as likely as they are not with eclipses. You know, it can be a little bit like intense and like weird in a way. So you could use that Sun over the South Node if you did want to do a release as well. You could use that day. You know, obviously check in your time zone when that is exactly happening. Like for me, like I say, it's happening on the 18th of October, but you'll want to find that as well, see when that is. And then on the 19th, Mercury goes over that point as well. Because like when we think about the planets in the sky, Mercury and the Sun are closest together, and that is why like Mercury and the Sun are always close together in charts. Like they're never that far away from each other in charts. Venus and the Sun as well, never super far away from each other in charts because they're close together. So yeah, we've got like the Sun, we've had Mars activating that South Node point, like this, like release, 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 and then the Sun comes over and it's like release, and then Mercury comes over, it's like release, and stuff is going to come out to be let go of as these things are happening, and like we can embrace that and we can be like, that's great. And then on well, we might not feel like it's great at the time but it will be fine, it'll be fine. And then on the 20th of October, we've got the Sun and Mercury conjunct. So we've got a Mercury cazimi. Cazimi is when the planets basically go into the heart of the Sun and they become kind of born again, you know. It's like the rebirth. It's the new moon. You know, like the new moon is when the moon and the Sun are cazimi, because it's like the moon goes into the Sun, it disappears, and then it comes out again, you know, a few days later. So we have that idea of a new moon, but we have it with the other planets as well. So when the other planets, like Mercury is happening in this month, it's going cazimi, it disappears and then gets reborn again. So if you've been in like a pattern of communication, if you think about Mercury as being that planet of communication, we've been kind of stuck in a loop of this pattern of communication. Then we have this Mercury cazimi where it disappears, gets swallowed up by the Sun, and then rebirthed again. A new opportunity, a new way of being able to communicate with people, you know. And like we've had that, like that happens as well with like the Venus retrograde, like Venus, there's a Venus cazimi as part of that retrograde cycle, you know, gets born again, and Venus is now the morning star, but I think we'll see her more obviously in her morning star kind of guise when she moves into Virgo, away from that Leo. It's still Venus in Leo at the moment, you know, it's still that whole thing. Okay, Emily said, I'm curious, I've been working on a long-term manifestation since last November. I tend to try and add to the manifestation each new moon, but with the eclipse it's better not to do anything. If it's been a long-term working, if I'm doing something like that, which is over a really long period of time, then I think it would probably be okay. You know, it's not going to disrupt the results that you've had before, because it's part of a larger cycle. But I wouldn't. Are you going to continue it? Is it going to be like a year situation? Then, you know, I wouldn't make this one the last one if that's the case. If it's your last kind of working on that, you might want to find like a better end point for it than that. Yeah, it's like all of the grimoires pretty much say avoid the eclipses for spell work, just because they can make things go a bit awry, you know, just from people's experience of working with that energy. Yeah, okay. So you haven't got a fixed endpoint in mind. So yeah, I think it would be fine to just carry on. And you know, you may want to like work, like if it's for manifestation, then usually it's better to not go like dead on the dark moon, you know, of the kind of the new moon point. It's better to go a little bit after that anyway. So you might want to, you know, do it like the following day or something like that. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we've got that whole kind of thing going on in the middle of the month there, which, you know, the eclipse is tied into. We've got all that south node, all those planets going over the south node, kind of release, release, release. And then I actually think the second half of the month is looking kind of easier in some ways. Like still kind of, we haven't talked about Pluto yet. This month is kind of a big deal for Pluto, because Pluto is stationing direct in this month. When is that? Let me have a look in my, and I go in my ephemeris in the back, because it's hard to see that from the charts here. So let's have a look at Pluto. So Pluto is stationing direct on the 11th of October for me at 27 degrees of Capricorn. So yeah, so like it's tying in, isn't it, with all that whole thing. When planets are stationing, and like Pluto takes an age to station, because like it looks like it's completely still in the sky, just hanging around in the sky at the end of Capricorn for a really long time. It's also making aspects to the other planets. I don't think it has these here. I think it only has the shorter term transit with the inner planet transits rather than the outer planet transits. What does it? Yeah. Oh no, because it's got Uranus and stuff there as well. Yeah. So yeah, we got a Pluto. We got Mars. That Mars on the south node is squaring Pluto on the 9th, as Pluto is stationing as well. Yeah. Liz is saying it's squaring Mars, stationing on the 10th here in EST. Yeah, squaring Mars. So we've got that really like Mars and Pluto. I see like Pluto as being like the kind of big brother energy of Mars. Like Mars is very like direct and to the point, and like wants to get to the bottom of things, but it's more like kind of personal. Like, well, it makes sense because it's like one of the personal planets. And then Pluto is like still is very similar, like wants to unearth things and kind of get to the bottom of things, but like in the much bigger time scales. Like if we're talking about apocalypse and like kind of overthrowing the patriarchy and kind of really new world ages being born, then those are more like Plutonian. Death and rebirth, you know, is very Plutonian. In the modern system, Pluto is the ruling planet of Scorpio, so Pluto is very much connected to that death card energy, that rebirth, that transformation energy. So yeah, let's have a look. What other Pluto aspects have we got this month? So we got on the 9th, we've got Mars squaring Pluto. So Mars in Libra, also on the south node, squaring Pluto. And then we've got on the 21st, Mercury squares Pluto. Also on the 21st, the Sun squares Pluto. So, you know, that's happening. We've got those kind of Pluto squares where I actually don't mind, like, I don't know, I got Pluto in my first house in my chart, and I quite like, even though that's probably a bit like masochistic to say, but I quite like that death and rebirth energy. I feel like I've gone through that process, that kind of like that butterfly process, you know, many times over in my life. It's like I like to kind of release and be made anew again. But I know for some people it's not welcome energy, and like it's never easy, I suppose, but it feels so good afterwards. I think that's what it is. It's like I can let go of all that stuff, and I can be, even though I haven't died in my physical body, and sometimes it feels like you are going to, but you get the opportunity to have a new life in this life. And I think that's really, really amazing and really powerful. You know, it's not like we're just stuck on the path and we can't make different choices, we can't do things differently. So yeah, I think that those kind of Pluto squares from cardinal signs as well, you know, it's cardinal energy, and it's change making energy. Yeah. So yeah, and So those are happening around the 21st. We've got those Pluto squaring Mercury, squaring the Sun. And then the 22nd is actually looking, I think this looks good. I like this. We've got Venus in Virgo, trining Jupiter in Taurus. So we've got an Earth trine with the two benefics. And I think that looks like oh, if I was going to choose a day of the month to like do something really grounding and something really like beautiful for myself, then I would choose like around that 22nd. Looks nice. On that same day, we've got Mercury in Scorpio, which is trining Saturn in Pisces. So Saturn is like the very last degree of Pisces. Well, very first degree technically, because it's retrograding back, and it's gonna turn around again soon and start moving forward again through Pisces. So it's got like, we've got a lot of water and a lot of earth going on in that week. And when there is a lot of water and a lot of earth, I find that like goddess energy, and it's a good time for like nurturing yourself with like really good foods and like just beauty as well, like appreciating beauty and doing things that are really like nourishing for your soul. And I like that will be needed, won't it, after like we've had that intense yeah, Liz saying there's a Capricorn moon that day as well, so we got that an extra earth emphasis as well. Yeah, so I think that is actually looking, that last week before the full moon, I think looks like the kind of calmest, although like some people don't like that earthy watery energy but it, you know, you can definitely lean into it in a goddessy kind of way and embrace that earth and water. And like trines with the benefics are always, it's always going to be nice. That's going to be nice energy. And then yeah, what else have we got? We've got Mercury opposite, well, we've got Mars opposite Jupiter. I quite like that as well. That's on the 28th. So on the lunar eclipse is happening on the 28th. This lunar eclipse is really emphasizing the water and earth energy, because at the lunar eclipse we've got the moon in Taurus, and then we've got the sun in Scorpio, so they're in fixed signs. So you know, that's something to bear in mind as well. When we have fixed signs, things are a little bit like calmer in a way. I think like it's less sudden, some of the things that'll happen. And listen, oh, that's the day of our goddess. Like, oh, that's so perfect. Yeah, on the 21st of October in our circle of kindred, we are having a goddess circle on that day, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have not picked that day because of that. Like, I'm sure somebody involved in that event, because we'll be having our own kind of personal event in the circle of kindred to mark that as a goddess day, but it's part of like a whole web of events that is happening all over the world. So there'll be many people holding different events in different places, and so I expect someone along the way has gone like, oh yes, that looks like a really good day for goddessy energy on that 21st. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I like that. And also the fact that there is that square to Pluto as well. It's like Pluto in Capricorn to me is like patriarchy, and it's like resistance. When we have this the square aspect, we're resisting, you know, there's tension there. And like there's so much has been talked about with Pluto. Pluto is going to be going, we've dipped into Aquarius for a little bit this year, and will be after stations. It takes ages to station. I don't think it actually goes into Aquarius again until January, I think, in next year. So this age of Aquarius, when Pluto moves into Aquarius, you know, this is the age of Aquarius, man. Everyone's been talking about it since the 60s, you know. There's a new, it's funny though to me, because like it's still a Saturn ruled sign. Aquarius is still a Saturn ruled sign. Like I'm not sure, it will be different, definitely. Like Pluto in Capricorn is going to be very different than Pluto in Aquarius, but it's still a Saturn ruled sign. So I'm just going to kind of see how that pans out, really. But that's not happening this month, you know, but we have got these Pluto activations which are going on. So if you know, it'll be a really good time actually to start looking into some of the Pluto stuff as well, if you're interested in that, because you know, Pluto is the last planet to be discovered, and so it's actually the one we know the least about, because we haven't had thousands of years of observation of how Pluto transits actually like play out on Earth. We haven't even witnessed Pluto going all the way through all of the signs yet. So it's kind of like, we don't know. Whereas with the rest of astrology, like astrology's been around for a really long time and we've witnessed these things happening, and so you can spot patterns, but we don't have that data for Pluto yet. We can kind of predict based on what we think, you know, like how we know about how other things work out like that, how other planets work in signs and the sort of similarities and differences. But it's a little bit of like, I don't think anyone can be super certain about any of these things. But yeah, it's really interesting to look into the history of Pluto as well, and like and even things like when it got discovered, the kind of astrology of that time, and then when it got demoted to being a dwarf planet as well. It's quite interesting having a look at that. So yeah, let's talk about this very last week then, this lunation. So we've got the lunar eclipse. Oh, that's what I was saying. We've got the sun and the moon in fixed signs. It's also a lunar eclipse. Partial lunar eclipse, not a total lunar eclipse, because it's not that close to the node. So you know, we talk about we only get an eclipse when it's when the sun and the moon are like in front of each other on the moon in between the sun and the earth on the nodes, and the other way around actually. For the partial lunar eclipse is the sun, the earth is blocking. It all gets a bit like, what if you haven't got like a model to show it? But when they're in fixed signs, we've got that kind of like more stable, kind of settled in kind of energy. And so we've got the sun in, so yeah, let's look where everything is. We've got the moon is in Taurus, the sun is in Scorpio, so we've got that earth and water. I remember looking, oh yeah, let's get the lunation chart. I was like, I've seen this chart. I've seen what this moon looks like. I've seen the story of this moon. So yeah, here is the chart. Oh, hey, Ashley. That is the chart for the full moon. The Moonwise Goddesses, I'll obviously be talking about this in more detail for us in the membership as well when it gets closer to the date. Yeah, so we've got, look. So we've got all this action happening down here in Scorpio with Mars, Mercury and the sun all down here in Scorpio. They've left behind the south node. Oh, that's what I was saying, is because it's not that close to the node. That's why it's only a partial eclipse, because the node is actually in Aries now, not in Taurus. So it's too far away to be like to be a total eclipse. And yeah, so what else? And then obviously opposite that, then we've got the moon, which is with Neptune and Jupiter up in Taurus. So that is like the big story of what is going on at that full moon. And it really does look like completely different. The energy at the end of the month is very different from the energy going into October. And I feel like if we do that work of release, then we'll be, by this point in the month, we will be really feeling very different and feeling renewed, feeling, you know, that death and rebirth. You know, we've got that opportunity to do that through this month. If we can't do that, then obviously it makes things more difficult for us. It can be a little bit hazy. You know, we've also got Neptune opposing Venus on that full moon as well. We've got, yeah, there's kind of like a loose square to Pluto happening with it as well, but yeah, not super, not very tight with that at all. Yeah, I think this moon looks, I like this lunation. Again, you know, not a great one for magic because it's an eclipse, and so you know, that's not usually the best time to be doing anything major spell work wise, but from like a personal growth, like journaling for sure, and anything like really nurturing and grounding and goddessy, I think would be really powerful around that time. Really, really good. So yeah, what's happening the last couple of days of the month? Obviously, we've got Halloween or Samhain. Yeah, the kind of Celtic New Year at the very end of the month, which, yeah, we've got on the 31st, we've got Venus is trining Uranus in Taurus. So like, again, that looks like a good day to be overthrowing the patriarchy. And like Halloween is good, is disruptive energy anyway, isn't it? It's the night when like all the things that's supposed to be hidden underneath come up to the surface. And so like we've got the significations of what is happening in that time anyway. So, you know, we can lean into that. But I think by the end of the month, that won't feel so like life and death. Like around that first solar eclipse, it feels more raw and kind of visceral. I think, you know, like looking at what is coming up. Whereas by the end of the month, I think we'll have the kind of the mindset to be a little bit more playful with it, and to be it won't feel so like this could be the end kind of thing, I hope. And it, you know, it's looking like once Mars, especially once Mars moves into Scorpio, I think like communication's been tricky with Mars in Libra over that south node. And I think once Mars moves into Scorpio, communications, as well as like things like you were saying about Kate, you know, like kind of white job kind of decisions and things like that, as well as like things should start moving forward as well. So we'll start to feel like there is actually difference, there is change. So yes, it is intense, but you know, sometimes things are, you know, and it reminds me of like, you've got to, when you think about like a diamond, that's always the one I like to come back to. It's like, you know, to make a diamond, you've got to put an awful lot of pressure on something. And I feel like we are being kind of turned into diamonds through this month. This needs to be a meme. Today is a good day to overthrow the patriarchy. Affirmation: today I will overthrow the patriarchy. Put it in your diary, you know. 31st of October 2023, overthrow the patriarchy is going in the diary for sure. Right, I'm gonna have a little sip of tea, and I've got the cards out. I've taken out the Tarot of Mystical Moments. Yes, Alicia, to purify gold, you have to burn things away. Yes, that is so good. And that is alchemical. This month is alchemical. So that's exciting, isn't it? It's exciting because we've got the opportunity to actually make real change. Whereas I feel like through the whole summer, it's been really hard to actually make change happen. Yes, Aaron said, don't make me laugh when I'm drinking. I wish you could get t-shirts like that. You know, today is a good day. You could even have like a kind of calendar page on there with like overthrow the patriarchy amongst like dentists and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm going to do, I think, a 3-card reading for the energy of the month. Yes, have some tea with me. That'll be lovely. Yeah, I'd buy that shirt as well. It could be quite subtle as well, couldn't it? Like you, and then people be like, oh. Yeah, it's funny actually, because my husband actually has a t-shirt printing company. Like he does it mostly for bands. But he's always like, you could do some t-shirts. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, you know, like if t-shirts are really a thing for like us mostly middle-aged women who who hang out on my channel. So I don't know, I like a t-shirt. Yeah, get a goddess t-shirt line going. That would be so cool. So Shannon says, big picture, release, release, release. And then it'll be renewing from the 21st to the 22nd onward. Thank you for that summary. That is excellent. And yes, and that feels release, and then ground and treat yourself really, really well, and then have some fun at the end of the month. Yes, that sounds great. A sweatshirt sounds good. Alicia says she lives in t-shirts. Okay, I'm gonna give him one more riffle. Yeah, I love that as well for the journal. That's such a good like TLDR for the month. Okay, so 3 cards to take us through the energy of October 2023. Okay, so this is the first one that came out. We've got our Devil card. Oh, look, she's a spider. People in the Moonwise Goddess membership will understand the significance of that straight away. Yeah. Yeah, Sarah, it doesn't matter. Like you can do that, definitely. Like I know I talk about that a lot, like looking at the your houses can really help you. It's like, oh, that is the area of my life where, so like you can do that. You can be like, okay, this is a Libra eclipse that is happening on the 14th, which is my Libra chart. Like for me, it's my first house. So I will be looking at like self things to be releasing, which, you know, is very on point with everything that's been going on. But you don't have to know that to know that you know that you're going to be releasing Libran things, and like Libran things are to do with Venus. They're to do with like perhaps your ideas of how things should be, like aesthetics, balance, value, things that you value. Like perhaps you need to look at values and like around that. Yeah. Listen, I've got paper everywhere, nowhere to write this down. It's fine, you can always watch the end of this back anyway, can't you? So we've got our devil card here. We've got a major. I find this devil card so interesting. This deck is so weird to me because like some of the cards are like so, and look how she's got the cherries. She's just like, come and get the cherries. And it's like hiding away that kind of spider. But I don't see, like, the write-up in the book is that like you're going to get lured in and you're going to get caught in her web and she's going to eat you, basically. But I don't always read this card like that. I actually like the way that she is, like it looks like kind of like a layered up fly agaric kind of toadstool. She's a hallucinogenic mushroom, kind of like morphed into a spider, morphed into a beautiful woman. And like all of those things are things which have been demonized. They're all things which have like, humans have been using like hallucinogens for thousands of years in spiritual ceremonies, and there's something that we're like, you're not allowed to do that anymore now. We're going to take that away from you. Spiders are actually like amazing creatures that have been around for many, many years longer than humans have been here, you know, millions of years longer than, I don't know about millions, maybe. And women also have been turned into, like, and that is quite different as well, to see a woman as the devil. Like this deck is very woman focused, so that's why oh yeah, Kate, I love that. Sometimes I wonder about the connection between spiders and butterflies, and that the spider draws you in, spins you in a web cocoon, and we emerge as butterflies. Yeah, and like that does very, it does feel like when we think about the energies that we've been talking about how over the summer and we're with all the planets retrogrades and stuff like that, it's like it's almost like we've been stuck in a web in a way, you know. We haven't had the agency to be able to change much because we've been like caught up in like other things outside of our control. Yes, it does look like a powerful card as well, and like, yeah, definitely creepy. Kind of dark goddessy, I find it as well, which, you know, devil cards do sometimes have that more like kind of wild god or wild goddess energy for it. Yeah, normal for the spider but chaotic for the fly. Exactly. Like it's just, that's just lunch for the spider, isn't it? It's not, that's just the way of the world. But I feel like having this card here, like the devil is an extremely creative card in tarot as well. And I feel like it's saying we've been kind of caught, we've been stuck in this web. You know, perhaps we need something like a hallucinogen. I'm not, you know, not recommending you get hallucinogens, but you know, that's something that people have been using for a really long time. We need a new perspective. We need a new creative possibility. And I love that because, you know, we are working with Spider Women, and that kind of idea of being the creatrix rather than being the kind of victim. We've got the opportunity to release that victim mentality, well, not just mentality, the actual reality that a lot of women are victims in our current society. We can turn that into something different this month. We've got the opportunity to change the story. Yeah, and like webs are really sticky. It's really easy, and it's really easy to just give up because like the more you struggle, the kind of more you get stuck, and it's like, oh, this is the end. But it might not be, you know. We don't know what's going to happen after that. Yeah. Okay. And then we have got Ah, okay, so we've got the Hanged Man, which I think is really interesting. Yeah. Shall I say, love the liquefy? Yeah, and that is what happens, isn't it? It's like the liquefaction is what happens inside the cocoon for the butterfly as well. Let the flow of the water's dirty flow away to become clean and fresh again. Yeah. So we've got this Hanged Man energy. And again, you know, that's another card for just kind of being stuck. Like, yes, in theory, the Hanged Man is about like, I'm getting a new perspective on things and I'm going to move on. Like, what comes next? What comes after the Hanged Man, guys? You know, it is 13, it is death. So in order to kind of get out of stasis, we need to be willing to let things go, you know? So yeah, and I love actually this Hanged Man card. Right up in the book, it explains about how like you can see here that she doesn't really have to do anything because her weight is just going to gradually open this, and you're going to be able to see this like clear sky. We're going to see the picture, the possibility beyond what is coming next. You know, what outcome we'll be able to see beyond the current situation. I love that her dress is also already the sky. It's like we've got the idea like within us, we've changed our perspective within us, and that's what has to happen first. And that's what happens while we're kind of stuck and we're thinking, is we like imagine the possibility of what could be, and then we allow the events to open that space up for us to manifest that into reality. So 2 majors. I said October was intense. Ah, interesting. Okay, and then the last card we've got is the 5 of Wands. Yeah, 5 of Wands. So 5 of Wands energy is very much about kind of like, it's a conflicty kind of energy, but I love like on here that it's like, to me this card looks very Mars in Libra. It's like not real proper conflict because it's all very like measured and controlled by that kind of Libra vibe. But it is fire energy, and in this month I feel like this is going to turn into actual progress. So like at the moment in this picture, they kind of blocked. If you look, actually, yeah, look at this. Look how these are kind of moving towards the woman here at the end, and she's like holding this one in her hand. It's like she's like stopping the progress. It's another like blocked card. So interesting, isn't it? So interesting, the parallels between these. And yeah, she's like no, progress is not going any further than this at the moment. But I think this is the sign of like, once Mars moves out of Libra, away from that south node, we will be able to move forward again. And like, it's really hard to see, like I can't tell what's going on behind her, like what is actually coming. In all of these cards, we don't know what is coming. We don't know the outcome. And that is kind of, it's difficult to move forward when we're not sure. But I think the idea is to move away from something this month. We need to let go of the thing, put the thing down that you've been carrying around for ages that hasn't been serving you, and leave it and move on. And don't worry about like, but what else yet? Because the thing that is coming for you is going to come once you've put that stuff down. Yeah. Shah says, death, Hanged Man, 5 of Wands. Sounds like a lot to release and to start anew. Yeah, unblocking, release, definitely. Yeah. Okay. I'm also going to take a card because I wasn't sure what was going to come up, because I knew what the energy of this month was looking like. And so I wondered if it might be a little bit heavy. So I thought, let's also take a card out of here as like a kind of a beacon for us, like a guide for how we can like best work with the energy of this time, of this month. So I've got my Woman in Total Control of Herself Oracle deck here, and we'll take one card from here as well as like a final message. So we're doing pretty well actually. It's only been just over an hour, so this is good. Oh, you're welcome, Millie. I'm glad this is on point for you at the moment. And let me know also what you think. Like, should we do these because it's kind of fun, I think, as well, to talk about it like this. And it's good. Like, I like to do it live rather than doing it as just like a kind of forecast as well. But ideally, I'd like to be able to show the charts as well. Emily says, yes, you enjoyed it, so that's good. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to do one. No, I need to do a bit more. Okay. Okay, so what have we got here? Oh, wow. Okay, so we've got card 15, which is, oh, sorry, the Brazilian messages is shot up. Shannon says, yes. Oh, that's good. Goes along with the cards I pulled this morning. Put it down and walk away. Yeah. Oh, glad, Millie. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Post the chart in advance. That would be good. Yes, that's a good idea. The problem is like really, what I would like to do is to have it on screen so that I could show each day, you know, like when we're talking about like the 21st of October, to see the chart for the 21st of October, I think that would be really, really good. Signs of the cards are really relevant. Oh, good, Ashley. I'm glad it's helpful. Yeah, good. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. So look, we've got the Lion Queen. I love this. And like Venus has been in Leo for a really long time, and I've given her a bit of rap for that in this. But this looks like a strength card to me. And interesting as well that it is card 15, which is also the number of the Devil card as well. Yeah, that idea of strength and justice also, like kind of, and I love also like, look how there's this opening here as well, like the opening on this card. Let's read what it says in the book for the Lion Queen. I'm throwing the book around the place. Oh, that sounds nice. Like, oh, I opened it. Oh gosh, I opened it straight on the page and then I dropped it. And now I can't find it. Here we go. The Lion Queen. Okay. The first lines made me laugh. Check your boundaries. Are they crafted securely to honour your sovereignty, to uplift and support your values and enhance your own sense of inherent value? Or are they softly drawn, slipping loose to accommodate others' needs and wants before your own? Are they aligned with sacrifice, selflessness, compliancy? Are you protecting your good girl image by caretaking the needs of others? Or are you protecting your precious life force by gifting others an opportunity to develop their own sovereignty by saying no? Oh my gosh, okay. So this is really like, boom, let me grab. It's reminding me as well of our Labyrinth room, which we're working with in the Circle of Kindreds as well this month. It's that kind of like cutting away boundaries, like I'm not going to be fucked about kind of energy. The witch knows she can't let what's urgent get in the way of what's important. Her deep inner life is the source from which all her creativity, intimacy, and relationships flow. So she will protect both her energy and integrity by drawing a circle around her creative time, her quiet time, and whatever space, internal and external, that imbues her with a sense of belonging. Now is the time to get fierce with your boundaries. You're worth it. Yeah. And like that is so aligned with what we've been talking about, because like it's so Libran. That's that idea of like it's not like a positive expression of Libra, but Libra can and especially when the South Node is there, can tend to put other needs before their own, to kind of want to soothe things, to want to kind of placate people and, you know, do the diplomacy thing and perhaps sacrifice your own needs for other people. And like if we're talking about releasing things to do with Libra, then this is, what are you guys saying? Oh yeah, okay, I won't feel obliged. Thank you for that though. Thank you for reminding me that. Because like boundaries are a big thing for me as well. You know, being Libra rising, I do tend to want to be giving things, you know, of value and not always taking things as well that I need. So yeah, definitely feeling called out by this as well. But yeah, if we're thinking about like the Libran release, things to release are things like self-sacrifice in a negative context, being the good girl. And that's an archetype that's well worth picking into and releasing over that. I love what it says as well about protecting your precious life force, because we talked about that sun going over the south node as well. So we are going to need to be mindful about our life force this month, like not through the whole month necessarily, but on that day when that happens. Yeah, it looks like a strength card, doesn't it? Yeah, really interesting. I think interesting parallels with that devil being number 15 as well. Don't let what's urgent get in the way of what's important. So by protecting our own life force, our own vitality, by doing the things that nourish us, we can, and like letting go, definitely cutting away, letting go of things, we are working with this Labrys as well. Oh, that's interesting as well, 15, so 1 and 5, which makes 6, which is our Labrys card. We need to do that, and it's not easy to do. So that is something that is like indicated perhaps for that new moon, so that by the time we get to the full moon, we've created space, we've protected our space, and then we can welcome in the things which we actually want and which nourish us in that space. Like she looks like she's guarding her space, and the lion is helping to guard the space too. Yeah, interesting. Really great cards, really, like, 2 majors. So it's a big month, but it's an opportunity. I want to look at it as an intense opportunity this month. Yeah. So I think that is everything I wanted to say. If you've got any questions, then ask them now. I'm having a little sip of tea, but we'll wrap it up in a couple of moments. Yeah, interesting question. Could it also be if one has pride to let go of, then one can grow? Yes. I mean, definitely if we're taking cues from what is on the card, like lions are very much associated with pride, and like we have just had that Libra retrograding through Leo and then forward through Leo. That Leo whole thing has been going on for a long time, so we've been having those Leo qualities emphasized, and it's given us a chance to look at those things about ourselves as well, like that, those kind of like whether we put ourselves out there, and like excessive pride is definitely something that Leos get accused of sometimes as well. So yeah. Kate says, can you please post the charts you're referencing in the Kindred group? Yeah, I only was looking at the actual transits. I didn't actually pull up, even though I've got my iPad ready to pull up the charts, I didn't actually pull up the charts for the days, but I'll take a photograph of the page from the honeycomb and share it so that you can see all of the transits as well. And then what you can do is, if you, whatever software you use to work out charts, is you can pull up charts for those days, those specific days. Oh look, we've got a troll, what fun. Yeah, it's been so nice to hang out with you guys, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I've been enjoying chatting about astrology and doing some cards and everything for a while with you as well. I was kind of surprised the death card didn't come out, but I suppose it makes sense after, like, we had the Hanged Man, so we choose the death card. We can choose the death card, or we can choose the Tower card. So yeah, that's something that I'm going to be thinking about as we go into October. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to figure out how to turn it off now, which is going to be funny as well. warmest blessings, and I will see you all very soon. Yay. Let me figure it out how to turn it